So Friday night service arrived and we all entered the shul. There must have been 35 to 40 men there between the ages of 13 and 90. And perhaps 6 or 7 of the women were there. It was beautiful. It's never been so full anywhere near it on a Friday night. And we all came together and we sang and we prayed and we sang, and I handed out candy, as I always do, because in nearly, and there's just a little synagogue politics, synagogue background. In nearly every synagogue in the world, there's a self-appointed candy man. Sometimes there are 2, and then it gets really competitive. Things can get ugly. But I'm from many generations of candy men, and it's something I deeply enjoy, because when you give a small little organic candy to a kid, it generates the same amount of excitement that giving an adult a new Lexus does, or $1,000. They're just so happy. So the return on the investment is great, and I also feel like it's holy in and of itself, because it creates an association from such a young age of the Sabbath services, of the Sabbath prayers, of synagogue. It creates an association of joy and with sweetness. It's similar to the custom that Jews have, which is called an upsharon. Have any of you heard of an upsharon? It's a ceremony in which, when a little Jewish boy turns 3 years old, we cut his hair for the first time. Until then, I remember my mother told me she cut my long golden locks and she just wept. She would miss them so much. And at the ceremony, you teach him the Aleph Bet. You take a sheet out with each of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet printed on it. It looks like this. Tabitha, could you pull up the sheet? Anyways, okay, there we go. And you see each of those letters of the Aleph Bet. Over each one of the letters, you put a little drop of honey. So when the child learns the letter, he dips the finger in the honey and will associate these letters with which God created the world and with which the Holy Torah is written. They'll always be sweet in his mouth. Anyways, I'm totally distractible and I'm getting on all sorts of rabbit holes, but that's why I give out candy. But I do it differently. I may be the only one in the world that gives out candy, not just to kids, but I had this brilliant realization years ago that grown-ups like it too. So I give it out to everyone. But this is a revolutionary idea. It hasn't taken traction yet. Maybe someday, maybe in the Holy Temple, everyone will get candy. All the nations of the world. But until then, it's just at the Arugot farm. Anyways, we came together and we prayed and we sang, and I think everybody felt something special was happening. But these people weren't on the whole journey to us. They couldn't have known how unique it was. So in the pause between the beautiful songs of welcoming the Sabbath and the actual evening service, usually the rabbi, someone gets up, as I often do it because nobody else volunteers, and I stood up to speak. And I started by saying like this. I said, "Atem margishim et ze? Atem margishim et ze ba'avir?" Do you feel that? Can you feel it in the air? And I posed that question and I just let it sit. And then I said, that feeling, of course in Hebrew, I said, that feeling, that's the Shekhinah. Do you guys know what the Shekhinah is? The divine presence. To get actually into the depth of what it is, it would take a lot more time. But if you want, we could do another fellowship about that. By the way, I want to hear from you guys, your thoughts, your questions, what to do more of, what to do less of. Anyways, I'm talking to these guys and to all these people. There was also 8 women there. And I explained that for thousands of years, when the Jewish people were in exile, the Shekhinah was there with us. The Shekhinah was in the exile with us, feeling our pain, feeling our disconnection. And now that we're returning, the Shekhinah is returning with us. And looking around at the majority of men there, these indigenous Judean types that I was telling you about last week with the peyot and the Hebrew garments, just unadulterated by Western civilization, I reminded them that something very holy and very sacred happened in these mountains. We don't believe it, we know it. We know that it was the wilderness of Ziph, where King David fled from King Saul, who was seeking his life, and in the caves all around the farm in which he hid. He composed most of the book of Tehillim. So from our synagogue, you can literally look out directly into the caves where the Psalms were most likely written. And for thousands of years, our mountain was bereft, was mourning the loss of her children who were dispersed around the world. And now we've returned, I was telling them. And the Shekhinah, the divine presence, has returned with us. And these holy stones, these stones which were hewn from the mountain itself, the stones with which our house of prayer was built, are absorbing our prayers, are drinking them in with thirst. And that after thousands of years, our prayers are finally upon this mountain. And not only that, but that this Shabbat would be the first Shabbat that we'd actually have a Torah with us, that a Torah would be read on this mountain. I want all of you to see what it looked like. I want your eyes to behold what the Torah looked like within the Aron Kodesh, within the Holy Ark that is new. It's still under construction. Here it is. Can you see that? It was like the Torah would just fit in perfectly, like a glove, into this holy, holy Ark. It's so beautiful. Anyways, when you see it in person, I can show you the stones that we've hand-selected from the 4 holy cities of Israel. Right, we've gone through what they are. There's Tiberias, there's Tzfat, there's Hebron, and there's Jerusalem. It's earth, water, wind, and fire. Tiberias is water, Tzfat is air, Hebron is earth, and Jerusalem is fire. And we wanted prominent stones from each of these cities within the ark itself. This highlight was taken from the Land of Israel Fellowship. Every week, hundreds of families from literally around the world come together on our live Zoom sessions to strengthen each other, to inspire each other, and to learn Torah from the Land of Israel, in which we connect the dots between the Bible, the Hebrew language, and the confusing events of our times. Go to www.thelandofisrael.com/fellowship or click on the link below to join. Thank you.